Hi there, this is Caster, and this is my updated game design portfolio for 2022. I'm going to be applying for design positions within a number of different studios soon, so I figured I should brush up my portfolio and make it into an easily digestible video. My name is Caster Cook, formerly Zachary Cook. I am 25 at the time of writing, living right in between Fort Worth and Dallas, Texas. I do have a driver's license and my own vehicle, and have no issues driving a commute to work. I am a native-born citizen of Texas, and have no felonies or disability statuses that would complicate the hiring process. I do have a degree in game design, but I have not formally worked for any game studios before. My hobbies include drink mixing, exercise and meditation, and of course, lots of video games, especially a lot of VR. I hope that's a good general overview of me, and I'm happy to answer any other questions in an interview. I graduated from the University of Advancing Technology in 2017 with a Bachelor of Arts in Game Design. I did receive my degree quite a long time ago, but am only just now trying to get into the industry, as I did pursue other employment avenues for a while after college, chiefly of which was continuing with my own YouTube channel, which was gaining significant traction at the time that I graduated. Not this YouTube channel though, this is a much older account, but it has the videos I was required to upload during my time at UAT's game design program, so I figured I'd upload these new game design related videos here as well. All of them are in a playlist that you can find on my channel, or hopefully were linked directly to. I feel very confident in my communication skills. Whether it's to someone above, below, or beside my station, I'm able to speak clearly, prioritize my objectives for the conversation, and take an active role in concisely clearing up any miscommunications whenever I'm made aware of them. I do not have social anxiety, autism, or any other things that most would consider social deficits. I am very patient and respectful with people, especially when given the same in return. I wouldn't consider myself a chatterbox, though. I do like to stay focused, and I do know how to respectfully disengage from people to return to my work. Likewise, I'm actually quite proud and confident in my presentation skills, as all throughout school I was regularly up in front of the class or standing at a podium in front of both students and faculty. You can ask my roommate who worked with me on nearly all my group projects. Whenever it was time for us to present, I willingly volunteered not only to be the presenter, but to make the presentation itself as well. I'm quite comfortable both creating and giving presentations in front of audiences of any size, over any topic, and I'm known to even go so far as to rehearse my presentations when given enough advance notice and time to do so. During my time at school, I was familiarized with many different physical aspects of working at a studio that most new hires probably are not familiar with, such as working with multidisciplined teams, doing daily stand-ups and other agile practices, breaking down projects and logging work hours into project management software like Axosoft and Trello, organized assets and builds through Google Drive and GitHub, actually punctually attending meetings, creating easily digestible notes and slides and then presenting them to both team members I'm working with and also to faculty who are not intimately working on the project, adhering to schedules, communicating with managers and co-workers on difficult or asynchronous tasks, and so forth. UAT really did set a lot of their courses up to emulate working in a real studio, and I think that's worthy of highlighting. I have an extensive amount of time in common digital tools such as Photoshop, Audacity, Vegas, and especially Microsoft Office. If you'll indulge me in a bit of bragging, I will say that my skills in PowerPoint are second to none. Whether it's creating presentations, animations, flowcharts, mechanic demonstrations, concept art, even basic level layouts. If it's something that needs to be visually illustrated, odds are I've made it in PowerPoint. I've even made an entire game in PowerPoint, though I'll go into that more later. I am also no stranger to project management software such as Axosoft, Trello, GitHub, Slack, and any other common names in agile development. And even if your studio does utilize something I'm unfamiliar with, I'm plenty confident in my ability to pick up new software. Despite all this, I will admit my engine work is not as extensive as I'd like it to be. as during school I was more focused into conceptual design, documentation, and team management. I have whiteboxed a few levels before in Unreal 4 and Unity, and I have utilized, modified, and adapted a lot of pre-created scenes, scripts, and assets, again in Unreal 4 and Unity. So I do consider myself capable of working in engines and in 3D environments in general. I'm not scared of them, I just don't have the hours with high-level engine work coming right out of school. But even when given large tasks that are daunting on their own, I am perfectly capable and confident in breaking those large tasks into smaller ones and following tutorials on whatever I need to achieve those smaller tasks individually. However, I do have extensive experience with creating design documents. Frankly, I've created more design docs than I can count. I've made Word documents, from small scratch sheets to full-scope design documents for entire games, Excel spreadsheets, some very extensive and always highly readable, even PowerPoint presentations complete with illustrative animations. And while I don't have any formal studio experience, I am still confident in my mind as a designer, whether it's designing from scratch or working on existing designs. Scale is no factor either, be they the very movement mechanics that define an entire game, or the balancing of a single weapon. I am very confident in my ability to design, plan, test, and tweak just about anything. Other designers will understand that once you've been given a solid education in design like I received during school, thinking about games in a design capacity as you play them never really goes away. David Game is a point-and-click adventure game that I developed in Microsoft PowerPoint. I used repurposed Earthbound assets and animation sequence timers to create a very impressive level of visuals, for a PowerPoint. However, what I'm most proud of is the gameplay design, which was set up in such a way to work with the fact that PowerPoint has next to no mechanics to actually develop a game with. No inventory, no saving, just navigation of slides. So I devised a system in which the player would sit at a hub slide and be given clear visual indicators what objects to click on to advance to a dialogue slide, which would then take them back to the hub slide immediately after, giving the appearance of a simple dialogue window popping up and going away. The player would navigate from hub slide to hub slide by clicking on different shadows, which indicated different positions where David could stand. Properly progressing through hub slides would advance the colors of the object indicators, letting the player know that they were going in the right direction and that these were new dialogues to read. All in all, I think it's a very slick design for a very limited, quote-unquote, engine, and it has the distinction of getting into my professor's best student works portfolio. I have a few board games I made in school which I'm particularly proud of the design on, but the one I'll include for this video is Dungeon, a tabletop RPG in the vein of Dungeons & Dragons, but highly simplified and created with direct rules on win conditions and such. Players select one of 9 pre-designed characters, each with simplistic but unique abilities and stats. The DM receives a deck of cards which distributes squads of monsters, towers, spells, and other things to use on the field. Combat encounters have no dice rolling, just 100% executed movement and attacking through a simplified action point system. It was great for beginners to the genre who may be more used to having concrete rules and objectives, but just open-ended enough that an experienced dungeon master would be able to make a real adventure out of it if they narrate the encounters, give players role-playing choices, and etc. Of all the board games I've designed, which I designed quite a few during my time at school, it's probably one that I'm the most proud of, and it's one of the only things I return to just to actually play it with friends for fun. Phantom RP is another notable digital project which was a custom Dark RP server for Gary's Mod. Dark RP itself is a faction-based role-playing game mode, which we took to a very extreme limit by developing literally over a dozen factions, each contributing several player models and weapons to the ecosystem. I'm very proud of the documentation and scheduling that went into it, as not only did I create my largest and most comprehensive ever design spreadsheet for it, I even ended up breaking down and plotting the entire project into Axosoft, and even followed through with my own scheduled sprints and burn downs. Along with the very well-developed design documentation for Fandom RP, I was also later given a paid commission to develop significant design documentation for an Alien RP, which I'm also rather proud of. In this behemoth of a spreadsheet, I laid out an elevator pitch, a gameplay brief, and a sheet explaining all of the fundamental features in the core gameplay loop. 2 factions vying for control resource obtained through specific tasks given to individual player classes, as well as by capturing and holding control points on the map. On subsequent sheets, I listed every single possible task for a faction, and how they worked with the maps and jobs present in the Dark RP system. I listed all the purchasable weapons and tools, all the buildable entities, all the upgrade paths and unlockables, the deaths and spawning mechanics, and much more. I even created a milestone chart and both an alpha and beta burn down list. The entire spreadsheet is also highly organized, highly readable, and goddamn color coordinated. And same goes for the design sheets that I made for Fandom RP and Dungeon. Beyond that, there are a few straggling projects I made in Garry's Mod's Sandbox game mode, including a first-person shooter that took place on a spaceship, a top-down zombie shooter, and an escape room. While all 3 of them were incredibly brief in scope, they were interesting forays into what was essentially visual programming, akin to Blueprint through use of Wire Mod, which was a system for connecting entities to triggers, triggers to variables, variables to timers, and a whole slew of other logics like that. I even wrote actual Expression 2 programming code from scratch for the top-down shooter in order to handle the camera changes and roofs disappearing when you entered buildings, which was difficult for me as a designer, but I still pulled it off. I also have 2 significant Unreal 4 engine projects, the first of which is a white-boxed level, nothing too fancy, just a layout of essentially a TF2 map. And the second one is sort of just a hodgepodge of blueprint practice that I made for class, including a door, an NPC you can interact with, and a short camera-controlled cutscene. Before I entered school, and for a time after it, I was involved with custom Team Fortress 2 servers running various custom game modes such as Prop Hunt, Zombie Fortress, vs. Saxton Hale/Freak Fortress, and many more. After I graduated, I became intimately involved with balancing existing TF2 weapons for use within these customized game modes, and with designing new weapons and bosses for them. For a short time, I was also consulted on documentation, balancing, and weapon ideas for a standalone Team Fortress 2 mod called Team Fortress 2 Classic, and have likewise been consulting with people making custom weapon mods for that mod. Between my experience designing weapons and game modes for Garry's Mod and designing and balancing weapons for various custom TF2 game modes, I have managed to get a not insignificant understanding of how to design good first-person shooter mechanics, from both weapons to movement to spawning and objectives, and everywhere in between. While my time with both of the TF2 Classic projects was short and not incredibly intimate, overall, I do feel very confident in my grasp on designing mechanics for first-person shooters. I've also been involved with the design of several VR chat worlds, providing design ideas, blueprints, feedback, and more, all within the realm of VR design principles. The 2 most noteworthy ones that I had contributions on were the Cruiser Cosmic, a home base for a community called Space Rangers VR, and a VR theater which multiplies visual effects of videos through use of wrapping environment pieces in a duplication of the video player. I have also provided testing and feedback for several standalone indie VR projects being created by developers I've met in VR chat. I am very confident in my grasp on good VR design principles, and I'm confident that I would be a credit towards any VR projects that your studio may have in the works.
I hope that this video has helped you understand my career so far and the skills I have at my disposal. Despite the distance from my schooling and my lack of employment in the industry so far, I am very confident that I could bring a good design mind to your studio and succeed in any position suited to my skills. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope that I hear from you. I can be reached at imwestghost@gmail.com or through other contact information that I will have sent along with an application. Thank you.